Here's something that'll absolutely blow your mind. Nearly half of Americans earning over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. Wait, let me repeat that because it sounds impossible. People making six figures are just as financially stressed as those making minimum wage. And if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear what I discovered about the 7 money habits that are silently destroying your financial future right now, even if you have no idea it's happening. But before I reveal these wealth-destroying habits, let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered why you never seem to get ahead financially, no matter how much your income increases? Well, you're about to find out, and trust me, the first habit I'm going to expose is probably happening to you right this second. The first habit that's keeping you broke is something financial experts call lifestyle inflation. And here's the terrifying part. It's so sneaky that 90% of people don't even realize they're trapped in it. But once you see how this works, you'll never look at your spending the same way again. Here's how it destroys your wealth. You get a raise, maybe a promotion, and suddenly that $4 coffee doesn't seem like a big deal anymore. Your old car feels embarrassing next to your coworkers' rides, so you upgrade to something with higher payments. That tiny apartment becomes beneath you now that you're making more money, so you move somewhere that eats up an even bigger chunk of your income. But here's what's really messed up about this, and this is the part that'll keep you up at night once you understand it. You're not just spending more money, you're literally rewiring your brain to be unsatisfied with what you have. That $20 dinner that used to feel like a splurge becomes your new baseline. And suddenly, you need $50 dinners to get that same satisfaction. Your brain is essentially working against your bank account. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear about something called subscription creep. You start with Netflix, then add Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Spotify Premium, that meditation app, the workout app, the meal planning service. And before you know it, and I'm not exaggerating here, you could be hemorrhaging $300 to $500 every month on services you barely use. But because each one feels small individually, your brain doesn't register the collective damage they're doing. Now, before I reveal the second habit that's even more dangerous than lifestyle inflation, I need to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. If you're doing what I'm about to describe next, you need to stop immediately, because this habit is literally designed to keep you poor forever. The second habit that's destroying your financial future is living without a real emergency fund and replacing it with the most dangerous financial illusion ever created. Are you ready for this statistic? 57% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 emergency without borrowing money. Think about that for a second. A minor car repair could financially destroy more than half the population. But here's where it gets really scary, and this is something banks don't want you to know. When you don't have an emergency fund, every unexpected expense becomes a crisis that forces you deeper into debt. Your car breaks down, so you put $800 on a credit card. Your dog gets sick, another $600 on plastic. Your phone dies, there goes another $300. Each emergency pushes you further from financial stability, and soon you're trapped in what I call the crisis cycle. And this creates something even worse than just debt. It creates chronic financial anxiety that literally changes your brain chemistry. You start living in constant fear of the next financial curveball, which affects your sleep, your relationships, your work performance, everything. You become hyper-vigilant about every expense, which paradoxically makes you more likely to make terrible financial decisions because you're operating from pure fear and scarcity. But wait, it gets worse. Credit cards make this trap even more deadly by creating the illusion of security. You think having $10,000 in available credit means you have $10,000 for emergencies, but that's not money you have. That's money you're borrowing from your future self at brutal interest rates. And when you use credit cards as your emergency fund, you're essentially betting that your future financial situation will be better than your current one, which is a losing bet when you haven't fixed the underlying problems. Now, the third habit I'm about to reveal might shock you because it involves billion-dollar companies that have spent decades studying your brain and designing systems specifically to separate you from your money. And the scariest part? You probably think you're immune to their tactics. The third wealth-destroying habit is impulse buying. But this isn't just about buying things you don't need. This has become a full-blown addiction for millions of Americans, thanks to psychological manipulation tactics that would make a casino blush. These companies have literally weaponized human psychology against your bank account. Here's how they're playing with your mind, and this will terrify you once you see it. That countdown timer telling you there are only 3 items left? Usually fake. It's manufactured scarcity designed to create panic buying. Those customers who bought this also bought suggestion. They're not helpful recommendations. They're calculated upsells based on data showing which combinations extract the most money from people like you. Even the colors and fonts on shopping websites are chosen specifically to trigger spending impulses. But here's the most disturbing part, and this is what keeps psychologists up at night. When you're stressed, sad, bored, or frustrated, shopping becomes your coping mechanism. You start associating spending money with feeling better, which creates a psychological dependency that's remarkably similar to drug addiction. The temporary dopamine hit you get from buying something new becomes your go-to solution for emotional problems. And just like any other addiction, the relief is temporary and the underlying issue gets worse. You end up with a house full of stuff you don't need and a bank account that can't handle your actual needs, because you've been medicating your emotions with retail therapy. This is why people often can't remember what they bought online. A week later, they weren't buying the product, they were buying the feeling. But before I reveal the 4th habit, let me ask you this. How many subscription services are you paying for right now? If you said less than 10, you're probably wrong. And what I'm about to show you will make you check your bank statements immediately. The 4th habit keeping you broke is something I call subscription hemorrhaging, and it's so insidious that most people don't even realize it's happening. The average American household now pays for 12 different subscription services, and here's the kicker: most people can only name about half of them when asked. These forgotten subscriptions are like financial vampires, quietly draining your bank account month after month while you're completely unaware. Here's how these companies have hacked your psychology, and this is pure evil genius. They make signing up incredibly easy, usually with free trials that require your credit card information, then make canceling as difficult and annoying as possible. They're literally betting that you'll forget about the subscription, or that the hassle of canceling will outweigh the monthly cost in your mind. And this strategy works so well that entire billion-dollar businesses are built around people who are too busy or forgetful to cancel services they don't use. But even the subscriptions you actively use can become financial quicksand. That innocent $10 monthly charge doesn't feel like much, but $10 a month for 5 years is $6 when you have multiple subscriptions running simultaneously. And trust me, you probably have more than you think. You're looking at thousands of dollars annually that could be going toward debt payoff, savings, or investment. And here's what makes this particularly sinister. Subscription services are designed to become part of your identity and routine. Your Spotify playlist becomes part of who you are. Your Netflix viewing history feels personal. Your meal kit delivery service becomes how you define healthy eating. Canceling these services starts to feel like giving up parts of yourself, which is exactly what these companies want. They're not just selling you products or services, they're selling you an image of who you think you should be. Now, the 5th habit I'm about to expose involves something that's probably in your pocket right now, and it's influencing your spending decisions in ways that would absolutely shock you. And the worst part? You probably think you're too smart to fall for it. The 5th money habit, destroying your wealth, is social media comparison, spending, and it's probably affecting your finances more than you realize. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok have created a culture where your lifestyle is constantly on display and constantly being compared to others, which triggers spending decisions based on image management rather than actual needs or financial capacity. But here's what's really messed up about this, and this is something social media companies desperately don't want you to understand. You're comparing your real financial situation to other people's highlight reels. That influencer posting about their amazing vacation isn't showing you the credit card debt they went into to pay for it. Your friends' new car photos don't include the stress they're feeling about the monthly payments. You're making financial decisions based on incomplete and often completely fake information. And it gets worse. The algorithmic nature of social media makes this trap even more deadly by showing you targeted ads based on your browsing history and social connections. If you've been looking at expensive items online, you'll start seeing ads for them on social platforms. If your friends are posting about certain brands or experiences, you'll get ads for similar things. These platforms are literally learning your weaknesses and desires, then selling that information to companies who want to separate you from your money. But the most devastating aspect of comparison spending is how it disconnects you from your own values and priorities. Instead of spending money on things that actually matter to you, you start spending money on things that you think will make you look successful or happy to others. You're literally buying a fake life that doesn't even reflect who you really are. Now, before I reveal the sixth habit, I need to warn you. What I'm about to tell you about credit cards will probably make you angry, because you're about to discover how banks have designed a system specifically to extract maximum wealth from you for as long as possible. The sixth habit, destroying your financial future, is falling into the credit card minimum payment trap. And this is the most sophisticated wealth extraction system ever created. Credit card companies have turned minimum payments into a machine designed to keep you paying the maximum amount of interest for the maximum amount of time. Here's the math that credit card companies pray you never see. And once you hear this, you'll understand why they push minimum payments so hard. If you have a $5,000 credit card balance at 18% interest and you only make minimum payments, you'll end up paying over $13,000 total, and it will take you more than 30 years to pay it off. That means you're paying $8,000 in interest on a $5,000 purchase. The credit card company is essentially tripling their money while you remain trapped in debt for 3 decades. But here's what's really evil about this system. Minimum payments are calculated specifically to maximize the bank's profit, not to help you get out of debt. They're usually set at just 2 to 3% of your balance, which barely covers the interest charges, let alone the principal. This means that most of your minimum payment isn't actually reducing what you owe, it's just feeding the interest machine. You can make payments for years and barely make a dent in your actual debt. And the psychological manipulation here is absolutely ruthless. Minimum payments create the illusion that you're being responsible with your debt. You're making your payments on time. Your credit score might even be decent, but you're actually trapped in a system designed to extract wealth from you for as long as possible. The banks market minimum payments as flexibility and convenience, but they're really selling you financial prison with a friendly face. Now, the seventh and final habit I'm about to reveal might be the most dangerous of all, because it's the one that makes all the other 6 habits possible. And if you're doing this, and statistically you probably are, it's like trying to drive your financial life with your eyes completely closed. The seventh habit keeping you broke and stressed is not having a budget or any real awareness of where your money actually goes. Most Americans have absolutely no idea how much they spend on groceries, gas, entertainment, or any other category of expenses. They're essentially driving their financial life blindfolded, which makes it impossible to make intentional decisions about money. And here's why this is so devastating. Without tracking your spending, you can't identify the leaks in your financial ship. You might think you're being responsible with money while hemorrhaging cash in ways you're not even aware of. That daily coffee run might be costing you those quick trips to Target for just one thing might be adding up to $300 monthly. Your grocery spending might be double what you think it is, because you're not accounting for all those small additional trips throughout the week. But the psychological impact of financial ignorance is even worse than the money you're losing. When you don't know where your money goes, you feel completely out of control, which creates anxiety and stress that affects every area of your life. You start to feel like money just disappears, like you're cursed to always struggle financially regardless of how much you make. This learned helplessness around money becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that keeps you trapped in these destructive patterns forever. And perhaps the most dangerous aspect of not budgeting is that it prevents you from being intentional about your financial priorities. Without a clear picture of your income and expenses, you can't make strategic decisions about debt payoff, savings, or investments. You end up making financial decisions reactively, based on whatever feels most urgent in the moment, rather than proactively based on your long-term goals and values. Now, here's what's really happening when you combine all 7 of these habits, and this is the part that should terrify you the most. You're trapped in a system that's designed to keep you financially stressed and dependent. Every month, you're paying interest to banks, subscription fees to companies, and impulse purchases to retailers, while struggling to cover your actual needs and completely failing to build any real wealth or financial security. But the most shocking part isn't that these habits exist, it's how they work together to create a financial prison that's incredibly difficult to escape. Lifestyle inflation increases your expenses, lack of emergency savings forces you into debt, impulse buying and subscription bleeding drain your available cash. Social media pressure drives unnecessary spending, minimum payments trap you in long-term debt cycles, and lack of budgeting prevents you from seeing the full picture or making strategic changes. And here's the thing that'll keep you up at night, once you really understand it. Breaking free from these patterns isn't just about making more money. Most people think if they just earned more, their financial problems would disappear. But that's exactly what these systems are designed to prevent. They scale with your income, which is why people making $100,000 can be just as broke as people making. The real solution is fundamentally changing your relationship with money, from reactive to proactive, from unconscious to intentional, and from short-term gratification to long-term wealth building. Once you understand these traps, you can start taking concrete steps to avoid them and build the financial life you actually want, instead of the one that's been designed to benefit everyone except you. But you have to act now, because every day you wait, these habits are costing you hundreds or even thousands of dollars that you'll never get back. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any other videos like this one. Thanks for watching.